Well, folks, it's time to brush off those crop marketing plans. They've been on the shelf here during harvest for many of you. Crops in the bin for many farmers across the Prairie provinces. So in this episode, let's figure out how to get after it here from a crop marketing perspective. I also have Maury Mic joining me here. He's our resident agronomist, and he's the guy when I want to talk efficiency, I want to talk cost savings from a fertilizer perspective. Maury is the guy we bring in. So let's get after it, folks. Episode 95 of the What the Futures podcast. Let's go. Hey, folks. Welcome to the What the Futures podcast, your quick guide to better farming decisions. Alrighty, folks, welcome into the episode here. Episode 95 of the What the Futures podcast, of course, recorded each and every week in the UPL studio. It's kind of like a fringe episode here a little bit. It's harvest. I'm getting messages every day here from farmers wrapping up, but we're not quite there, right? We're not quite 100% done. We're still kind of slugging it out across the prairies. If you're out there wrapping up, in your last days, be safe out there. It's been a long run. It's been a big push. Get to that finish line nice and safe. All right. So it's been a fun week. I was on Trent Clarenbach's podcast. He's putting out a weekly podcast now. And I hope he edits this sucker down because we recorded for over 2 hours and it's more about life stuff than anything. So if you want to hear more about, where I come from and what I got up to so far in my career, that's where you go. Alrighty, we'll see when that comes out here in the next days. All right, so we got Maury that's going to come and talk, mapping. We're going to talk soil sampling. We're going to talk fertility. Fertilizer prices have come down a little bit. Urea prices, I should say, have come down here a little bit the last couple of weeks, and I think a lot of that is. From a global perspective, we saw, was it India that basically said, hey, you're offering me like 5 million tons of urea and I'm going to buy 2. So we saw global values, pull back here. We saw headlines of maybe a bit of a little extra supply across the globe. And that took a few weeks to trickle into the Prairie provinces. It did. But we finally have a little bit of some price drops in urea, some different terms coming out, and a little bit of negotiation. Okay. Now I think there's a little calm in this marketplace, and I want to say this is a bit of a tinfoil hat theory, but I don't want to buy fertilizer at these prices, especially when you look at prices for next fall for some of these crops. Like I don't want to buy fertilizer at these prices, but is there a little spot here to get a purchase done? Like maybe it's not everything. Maybe you sit here and say, hey, global prices are on the decline. I'm finding a story for, more of that trend. Like maybe you're one of those folks that say, hey, globally things are going to still keep working down. But domestically, I sit here and say, man, I wonder if we're just in a little soft spot here where you could get something traded in the 7s. Like maybe before farmers are wrapping up harvest, there's not a lot of activity. From a retail perspective, I'm hearing it's very quiet out there. And maybe as people kind of get over that harvest hangover, they start, you get in there and get something bought, maybe a portion before it gets exciting. Now, I would say that my tinfoil hat theory here is I think that across the Prairie provinces, many farms, not all farms, but many farms are sitting here breathing a sigh of relief. If you looked at prices and the trend and you looked at average yield or maybe below average, we had the spring drought, the northern parts of the prairies that kept on. But a lot of people felt lucky and felt the tension ease a little bit with some of these extra bushels. And so initially I thought like maybe it's going to be a fall and an early winter where there's not a lot of transacting happening. There's not a lot of fertilizer purchasing happening. But now with how this is playing out from a yield perspective and from a closer to a break even or profitable perspective now for some farms, that wasn't there before, and it may be there now for many. So I think there's going to be a little bit of an appetite to go and start planning for next year, even though the outlook, again, from a price perspective doesn't look great. The margin perspective doesn't look great. But I have a feeling I'm getting here is that we'll see more action, later this month and into November, and not that it's back to normal or that it will be normal, but I just think there'll be enough going on. So there might be a soft spot here to go and get something done on the urea. Also, diesel prices seem to be working down here as well. Ultra low sulfur diesel working down from a chart perspective. So we'll see if there's a buy here on diesel for wintertime. We'll see what that looks like in the next few weeks. Okay, so I want to talk conference here for a minute. We did a duck race. Now, we did pick our winner, Carl Jansen. He farms up, I can't remember the name of the town. He's northern Alberta, though, but he was our September winner for the voicemail. So congratulations to Carl. And if we had 11 voicemails come in, that's the most popular month we've had so far. And I want to continue that. The voicemail is sponsored by the Lunchbox crew for this month. And there are a couple spots available if you're thinking about, some crop marketing, I don't want to say service out there, but if you're looking for an alternative, you're looking for a community to join where we chat crop marketing and we chat strategies and you have a sounding board. Yeah, check it out, ryandenis.ca. We do have a couple spots this fall for some new members in the Lunchbox crew. Alrighty. So this month, again, you go to the website, you'll see that send voicemail button. It's the What the Futures podcast website. You click that button, you say, hey, Ryan, my name is, Farmer. And what I'm asking for this month is that you just say that you've taken the time to sit down and dust off your crop marketing plan. That's it. I just want you to say, hey, Ryan, it's Farmer A. I sat down, reviewed my crop marketing plan. I'm ready to rock and roll. You don't have to say rock and roll, but whatever you want to say after that. Because I think the soft spot here, I know it's still busy. There's lots of fall work to do before it frees up, but you got to sit down and figure out your plan. For goodness sakes, wheat futures made a new low this week, a new fresh low. All right. It didn't get better. Canola traded with a 5 handle this week. It didn't get better yet. So take some time and let's figure out your crop marketing plan moving forward, because if you just throw it all in the bin, lock it up and hope for the best, that is not a plan, folks. That is not a plan. And I'm going to tell you later on in this episode, I'm going to ruffle your feathers a little bit, but there's some signals happening out there. You don't have to be happy about them, but there's some things happening. We got to talk about that because this market is not going to be friendly here for the next little bit. Okay. All right. So conference perspectives here. My update on the conference. I do have a deadline, application deadline, October 13th. Thanksgiving Monday is our deadline to apply to attend the conference in Moose Jaw. All right. So Ryan, what's going on? Why the heck would you have a deadline for applications? Well, I'll tell you, folks, this is why we have to do this, because right now we have like 40 chairs left. Okay. 40 chairs roughly is where we're sitting at. That gets us to 75% sold. All right. 25%, room for 25% more, but we've approved a bunch of applications, and you guys, you don't just apply, get the link to buy the tickets and buy them right away. It takes you like a week or two to do it. That's totally normal. You're busy. It's harvest time, right? So it takes a few weeks. So we have enough applications out there that if everyone with an application bought tickets, and I've got it at like 1.5 tickets, some buy 2, some buy 1, but it's 1.5. Okay. Well, we're 88% sold, 90% sold. Okay. We're down to the last 10%. If the people that applied and were approved by their tickets, we're down to that last 10 to 12%. So yeah, the application is not hard. ryandenis.ca, you fill it out. It's just to make sure that it's farmers in the room. That's it. Are we going to sell it this week? No, we're not. Are we going to sell it next week? No, we're not going to sell it next week. But by the end of October, it looks like we're going to be there, folks. And so there is an application deadline so that if we get to that spot where we have enough out, I really don't want to, if you were approved and I'd have to say, sorry, you missed out, like that would be painful. I would not want to do that to somebody. Be like, yeah, we approved your application last week, but you missed it. Like, I want to give everyone a chance. And hey, if there's some spots left at, going into November, we'll let everybody know where we've been working with the venues, looking at seating plans, trying to make sure that we have comfortable space, trying to figure out every time we have this discussion, I don't get extra seats. I get seats pulled away from me. All right. So we're trying to make sure that it's comfortable for everybody. And I have not figured out a way to add seats at this event. All right. I also want to thank, I want to give a shout out to Simple Hedge. I put a call out to see who else should we invite to this. There's a couple of spots left in the agenda. And someone said, hey, why don't you reach out to Simple Hedge again? They joined us in Drumheller. And so I reached out to Evan. I said, hey, you guys got anything new going on? And he said, yeah, absolutely. We got lots of different stuff going on. And so we had a discussion, and yeah, they've got some new updates. And I think that I know that people are going to appreciate some of the technology they've been working on. It's next level crop marketing, next level risk management. We've got them secured for the conference. Alrighty. Like from an agenda perspective, I was running through it this week with Sarah from Trigger Grain. It's action packed. If anybody knows me personally, we want to have a lot of fun as well. And because crop marketing, I don't know, like I think it's exciting, but it's not, it's for some, it can be a bit of a painful thing. So just give me a few minutes. We'll just run through this real quick. Okay. So Tuesday, December 9th, we're going to do a little Lunchbox crew get together before everyone shows up. So Lunchbox crew, you're coming early. But we're going to do registration, mid-afternoon, right? Like all afternoon, we'll have registration set up. Registration is a really fun time. Like you get your hotel key and all that stuff, but then we're off to the side, and this is where you pick your swag. All right. I'm not going to give away all the swag details, but the swag, you want to show up early because, we get like 30 of a bunch of different things. And there's some pretty cool items there. So you get like swag, like 3 pieces of swag, something like that, 4 pieces of swag. You get t-shirts, hats, toques, all sorts of fun stuff. All right. And then you can go take a dip in the pool if you want, right? You're staying at a nice spot with a nice pool. I had some buddies message me and they're like, hey, we're bringing our wives with us. What do you know about the town and stuff like that? And I'm like, that is awesome. Like you guys are going to be in the good books that you're bringing your partner with you, your spouse, to come hang out in the spa while you're doing your crop marketing conference. So that's pretty cool. That we were hoping that we'd see that, and we are. Tuesday night, we've got, happy hour. We're going to be hanging out at the Crush Can, sports bar theme upstairs, speakeasy theme. Not speakeasy. Is it speakeasy? Yeah, that might be what it was called in 1920s. We're going old school gangster theme, right? And so we've got cool vibes downstairs, cocktails. We got upstairs, sports bar, beers. There's a stage. I'm going to do my song and dance that night. We got a great meal set up. And then we have all these games. You could shoot hoops. You can play buck hunter. You can, there's 25 TVs. We'll see what's on for sports that night too. But and we got music. We got music on both levels as well. So it's going to be a party, right? We're going to kick it off. My buddies, last year, I went to Kurt, Tyler, and Paul, and I said, guys, you're coming to this conference, and it was Drumheller last year. And I'm like, what night are you going to go hard? Like you're away from home, you're going to learn, but what night are you going hard? And they're like, first night is go night. Because after the second night, you might be driving home that next day. So the first night's the go night. Well, that we are activating that night. That is the What the Futures night, and we're going to give her on that night. All right. Well, you're going to give her. I'm going to be in bed early. I got stuff to do in the morning. I'm a busy guy at this conference. I got to be sharp. All right. So on Wednesday, breakfast, nice long breakfast hour. But we're even doing a little breakfast series. So you can have your breakfast to come hang out with a couple speakers. They're going to do some talks, kind of some one-on-one stuff, some entry level beginner type stuff. And so that, you're like, all right, I know that stuff. I don't really have to do that, or I don't want to really do that. Then you can just be there for 9 o'clock, as that's when I'm going to kick off the day. All right. Then we got keynote, breakout, lunch, panel discussion, keynote, breakout, keynote, and then wrap up for the day. So action packed for that. What are we on there? Wednesday. And then Thursday, same thing. You want to come for breakfast nice and early? Great. Little breakfast series. Come hang out with a few of us bright and early. I'll be taking one of those first spots, right? That's why I got to stay sharp, because I'll be one of the first ones speaking for the day. 9 a.m., set up the day. Keynote, breakout, lunch, panel discussion, which everybody loved the panel discussions last year. We had to bring those back. Keynote, breakout, and wrap up. So we're still tweaking the last of this, but anyways. So yeah, we got Sarah with Trigger Grain, Dwayne with Grain Metrics, We've got Simple Hedge there. We've got RBC teaming up with Nathan Kuhn for their presentation. Susan Stroud, Derek Deary, Terry Betker, Deb with the Canadian Centre for Agricultural Wellbeing. It's going to be a good time, folks. All right. So application deadline's coming up here on Thanksgiving and Canadian Thanksgiving. And get your spot. 40 left, guys. You've been warned. 40 left. All right, let's get into my discussion with Maury Mic from ProGrow. Again, folks, I got to bring the agronomist on the show. I don't know this stuff. So we have a great discussion. So let's get into it with Maury. I'll get back to you guys after with some crop marketing stuff. All right, folks, we welcome back Maury Mic to the What the Futures podcast. Maury, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Good. Glad to be back. Happy to see I didn't screw up my last one too bad to be able to make a return visit.
I want to have you on sooner, but the summer just flew by. It flew right by. So did you have a good summer? How did everything go on the farm this harvest?
Busy. Every year it's, I'm going to make an effort to golf more. And every time I've said that, I think I've golfed even less every recurring. So this year I got one round in. So it's been busy. Happy that the combine is parked and I can focus more on now. My soil samplers are rolling, the mappers are rolling. We're shifting from my focus not being on the farm to making sure everybody's doing their job on my business side. So.
Well, I was going to say, so my golf clubs have moved right there now by the door, and I have not had it. I haven't done a round either this year. So I'm attempting. Coal Creek closes October 14th, and I am attempting to try to get one round in before they close for the season. I've never golfed in October before, so I'm hoping to line up some good weather the month of October and get there before they close. So that's my goal, Maury.
From what I've heard, you got a couple weeks left. I think mid-October they were eyeballing shutting her down.
Yeah. So I want to talk soil sampling. I want to talk about, fertility and what you got going on for planting this fall. But before we jump to that, it's you just parked the combine. There's still many people harvesting around us, but is there any learnings from 2025 yet? Like, does anything stand out from the agronomy side or from growing the crop this year in your area? Did anything kind of come to light?
I said it last time. It's for the amount of panic we had in early June over it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be drought. Like, we're not going to have a crop. It's patience. Like, we have never lost a crop in the first 2 weeks of June. Mm-hmm. If we have, like, in my honest opinion, every year we've been dry up to that second week of June. You go back to 2023, it gave us our best wheat crops up until this year. So it's just patience, and then just that we need more fertilizer. We need more fertilizer. This year has shown, like, everyone likes to refer to that barrel, the Liebig's barrel of law of the minimum. Your yield is going to be dependent on the lowest nutrient available. Well, this year, I would say almost every year that's not the case. We run out of water before we run out of nutrients, or we just get the sunlight. The sunlight is like an axe to the barrel. If it gets too hot, that's a big solid hole in that barrel and you're starting to leak water. That's the biggest thing. Like, I've kind of had a firm belief in it. And then this year put that over the top. Like, for the yields we pulled, like the field I put the lowest amount of fertilizer on my farm gave us my best ever canola yield. So it's, you don't need to slug 450 pounds of fertilizer, get that. It's all a combination of water and lack of heat, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, over in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they're talking about the smoke being the big benefactor, the crops being a big benefactor of the smoke. I didn't have a lot of smoke in my neck of the woods this year. I don't know if you did over at your place, but it was a cooler summer. I don't know if I could sit here and say it was the smoke that led to these big crops. So any thoughts on that?
We never really had any smoke. Like, we had a few days, but nothing to really, like, nothing I can say saved it. I don't think we crossed 34 once.
Yeah.
I think we sat around that 30, 31, which, that might seem hot, but for the crops, like, that allowed them to be able to root down fast enough and keep up with the moisture uptake. until there was just no moisture left and they shut down. So we did, for as good as our crops were, I think we did leave a little bit because you could see it just in bushel weight and like canola seed size. It was really small. At the end, we ran out of water. Like we just didn't get that. They were. I sound bad because the crops were phenomenal, but if we would have just got another tenth or two, that probably would have added 5 bushels. Like.
Yeah, no, hearing some really, really good, strong success stories in a lot of areas right now. So, some extra yield to help with these depressed commodity prices certainly doesn't hurt. So, all right, Maury. So you're working with farmers here across, kind of north central, northeast Alberta. You're ramping up now. Let's talk about what you got kind of on the go, what farmers across the prairies should be thinking about here as we park the combines and switch gears to fall work. Where does it start from a planning perspective?
You ought to know, like, I got both my soil samplers running right now. The bottom line with what we're kind of facing going into 2026, if you don't know what kind of nutrients you have left, it's going to be a very expensive learning lesson on whether you didn't apply like enough or too much. That's the base layer for fertilizer planning, is just knowing what you have left over, if there is any left over, and what you have kind of going on. Any form of soil sampling, I rag on composite soil sampling quite a bit just because the resolution of that type of sampling is very low. So I rag on it quite a bit, but just poke some holes, send some tests, see what you got going on. Like I told you earlier, most guys on average, it's looking like there's going to be a $20 to $30 per acre increase on fertilizer costs for most guys coming into this year.
Yeah.
And that's not even the only increase you're going to face. There's going to be in-crop increases. There's going to be other increases. It's getting that data to be able to see where you can make that piece of the pie maybe a little smaller.
From a soil sampling perspective here, like, do people sample these days every quarter section, or do they kind of pick a few of, with each crop? Like, what's the normal cadence out there?
In my neck of the woods, the woods, you have everything under the sun. You have some guys who've never ever really soil sampled, some where like they don't want to sample everything. So I would recommend, like, you have 5 fields within a mile, pick 2 and kind of pot it, treat them the same. Yeah. Others do the full, like for guys who are VRing, that's every field every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's everything out here. Like, there's no pattern there. It's farm to farm. It's all going to be different.
Okay. So fair enough. So, I'm just thinking here, like, if I use our farm, for example, we had a fair variance in rain events and a fair variance here and variability in yield. I feel like we're going to have different scenarios out there. When it comes to planning, would you suggest, kind of going into both scenarios and picking away at that, or would you do something more aggressive?
I guess it depends on the variance. Like out our way, I'm pretty sure the pattern would be extremely consistent in Alberta and Saskatchewan. You have your high ground, probably the poorest yield of the field. And then as you start going down that slope, the yield's getting higher, higher, higher. You get into that toe to the very lowest point, into that little valley of a roll, highest yield. And then it just keeps going back and forth. So it's more topography driven, I would say. Like, if you are just composite soil sample, I would probably do 2. Soil sample the high ground, because the rules of composite soil sampling are you avoid the extremes. You don't soil sample the high ground. You don't go to the poorest ground. You want to stay in that middle, kind of the best ground, essentially. That's where you want to sample. So I would treat it as, like, I want the high ground sampled separately, and then I want my good ground separately, and then you can kind of see the difference, if that makes sense. That would be the best way. Like, for guys who are just doing that would probably be my recommendation, is because that's where you got to know where everything is, especially this year. Like, you do not want to be wasting fertilizer is going to hurt you this year. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's bring in the mapping side to this then. So what, from like we use VR on our farm. I have a side comment though for later. I'm going to make a note of it here. But we're using VR on our farm. But from a mapping perspective, how does that come into play here? And is that something that we should be, like that you do every single year is go over that land and draw those maps?
The only way, so once it's mapped once, so the brand of map I use or sell, it's called a SWAT map. So that stands for soil, water, and topography. I own a few boxes and kind of support it myself. So what happens is I go over with the box. Every 80 feet, I drive across the field in swaths, map the field. The only way I'll remap it is say you've been doing it for 15 years. It's the 15th year. It's like, okay, we've been using this same map long enough. It probably should be like, you don't need to remap it every year. The only times you remap is if it's been so long or if you've done some substantial draining or land work to that particular field where there's some substantial changes to the actual field itself. Beyond that, map it once, you're good for probably a decade unless you in our case, I did remap a couple fields because after 2018, 2019, where we had like 70 inches of rain in 2 years, we just had some salt. It really brought some salt up. So I remapped a couple fields that we had some water issues on. But beyond that, there's no mandatory needing to remap every year.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. If Mother Nature has an event that could change things, or you're out there doing some manual changes yourself, that makes sense for sure. Okay, so the setup here then for fall. So if you don't have maps, you want to use variable rate. You have variable rate technology on your equipment. Go get some mapping done. That's kind of step one.
Yeah,
and then step two.
Step two would be I would ground truth it, and then the sampler would roll out. So when I talk about ground truthing, it gets mapped. I'll have about 15 fields to choose from, or 15 maps to choose from for that particular field. I ground truth it to pick the appropriate map. So when I talk appropriate map, there's weighting to it. On these particular maps, I can weight it. Say you have a flat field. Okay, maybe that'll be pretty much purely weighted to soil electroconductivity, or you have a really rolly field. I want that weighted more to topography and water flow. I can kind of pick the weighting of what I think is influencing the field more and those zones more. So I physically go out, pick the map, sample it, and then I get all the information back to be able to make a fertilizer plan for that particular field. Like the most important part, honestly, even above the mapping, is just ground truthing it. Because if you don't have the correct map, your zones could be, I wouldn't call them out of whack, but just not accurate versus what is actually occurring in that field.
Okay. That's a couple of good points there. It's not just, set at one specific map and away you go. You can have some influences based on what's out there.
And it's never just a set it and forget it thing. Like the map will continually evolve. Let's say after 2 years, it just doesn't seem to be fitting. You can mod it. You can pick a different map. Like there's never, this is our map for the 10 years. It does not function that way.
Okay. So when you're out there, so we're thinking about 2026 now. From not every grower out there, but many growers are seeing 2025 some yield boost. From a financials perspective, with low prices, it's helping. Again, not everyone's seeing the yield boost, but many are across the prairies. When you go to tackle fertility for next year, do you find that in your work that you are looking to, increase what we're applying and go big and do more? Or do you find that in your work you're focusing on, efficient, maybe efficient's not the right word, but less cost per acre? Like is there a fine balance there? How do you look at that?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. So realistically, the nice part about it is, so this year especially, it's say you've been applying 40 pounds of actual phos. That's going to be super expensive this year. So you want to cut it down to 30. The goal of it is I still want to be able to juice the land that I know is going to use it, and I'm going to get the crop from it while pulling back from the areas of higher risk. It's risk management, essentially, at all it is. We're peeling away from the areas where giving it 40 actual pounds of phos is extremely risky. Likely payback on that ton is low. We're going to peel back from those spots and likely this year pocket that tonnage saving, and then continually, like, might even go above 40 pounds of actual phos in the areas that we're pushing it, and we want that phos to help drive maturity and just evenness.
Okay.
So it's a combination of both. You can do either. I want to push it. That's totally fine. But this particular year, it's just a cost management tool and risk management tool. Like I would like to call it a risk management map this year, essentially. Like, with how dry, this is the driest I've ever seen our land in the fall. It is scary, honestly. So would I want to be fertilizing my upper slopes and top hilltops just like everything else? No, because that is the yield potential on that, if we don't get a good snow, right, is already limited starting now.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough. Good comment. Put it in the right spots. Yeah. This is a bit of a loaded question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot on this one, but are all VR programs, variable rate programs, mapping that are out there across the prairies, are they all pretty much the same? Or is there some ones that are like, this is poor and okay, this stuff better, or like,
there's a combination.
Or is it all the same?
There's a combination. So what you have a few companies who just do NDVI imaging and either pair it with LiDAR, or it's just a straight out vegetation map and they combine it with a yield map to give you a map. Those, I would say, they're cheap, extremely low resolution. It all goes down to the resolution a farmer is wanting out of his maps. If you want low investment, just give me 2-3 zones that I can change. Those might be a fit. The accuracy, because I attack those quite heavily when I'm talking to people. I have maps that even the NDV, like, it's just not accurate. So, like I said, if you just want cheap, low resolution, those are good options, like better than nothing. And then anyone who is using like an EM38 or getting soil EC, better quality, nice, like those are good solid maps, more expensive. And then, it just comes into how they're building the map off of that. So like the SWAT model really uses that water move, like the topography and water flow. Like, it's essentially a water map. Yeah. Because that is, for us, that's our driver, is water. So it's a little more high resolution rather than just the straight EC and a bit of elevation modeling. Yep. There is various stages. There is no, like, honestly, at this point, I would say there is no wrong choice, because any little bit will save you some. Like, even just the manual, flick the switch, turn on, off yourself, like, that's still better than nothing. Yep.
What are fertilizer prices doing in your area? Are they holding steady now? Or are they
holding? They come down. Yeah, they come down a smidge. Urea, I think, came down $20 or $30 a ton at the farm gate, but it's been eerily quiet now. So there was that usual kind of July, August push, and now that the combines have been rolling, it's been like, I'm expecting a push now, because retails are going to want cash flow coming into Christmas, coming into that Jan 1. Yeah. So I think the news is the gossip and the price shopping is really going to start to flow now. But yeah, you're looking at urea right now is starting with an 8. Phos, if you're lucky, is in the high 12s, probably more likely 13. So it's I don't know if I would call it ugly, but it's scary. Like, that's a big chunk of your bottom line. You're just putting in fertilizer for something you don't even know is going to give you, is going to give you positive return on investment.
Yeah. Well, and it's, like you said, off the hop, for a lot of folks that bought early last year for the 25 crop, that $25, $30 an acre increase here in an environment that from a crop marketing perspective, from selling this stuff, yeah, there's some question marks on profitability out there. So it's, no guarantees on the yield side. From a fall work perspective, do you think that growers are going to get out there in the month of October and get a bunch of this applied in the fall, or with the high price and the dryness out there, do you think people will sit back a little bit?
Honestly, fall anhydrous is priced extremely sharp, but how much risk are you willing to take with how dry it is? I would not, with how dry it is, I would be scared to be doing fall gas. There'll be fines put down like there always is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really, the moisture factor, that's not really a factor for fines. It's just for guys who are looking at that, how sharp the price is on fall gas. Out in our, I don't want to speak for Saskatchewan, Manitoba, but in East Central Alberta, if you're putting juice down right now, you're probably losing 20%, 25%. You're probably losing a quarter of it just because the ground won't seal and it is going to gas out.
Yep. Yeah, we're supposed to get some mixed weather here, so I don't know what that brings with it, but fingers crossed that we get some nice October rains here, even though it'll slow down field work a bit.
So to put it in perspective, out here where I'm sampling right now, I'm doing some cores that are a foot deep. The first 8 inches, the core doesn't even want to hold together. It's just powder.
Yeah. And for those listening, you are out of the Holden, Alberta region, so you're kind of that north central. I don't know if we call it north central.
East central, northeast central, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's when I'm taking cores that deep and I'm seeing it's that dry, that deep, we need some serious help come October, November through the winter. If we don't have a lot of snow, not a very good feeling heading into spring.
Well, my weather guy said to plan 2 winter vacations this year because there's going to be a very cold winter with a lot of snow. So just plan those 2 vacations, Maury. Make sure you head out to Boston or New York to watch your Blue Jays play here in the playoffs, and then get another one on the books because it's going to be a cold winter. So we'll see. Fingers crossed for some moisture. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on the show here once again. I was just going to say for us, the puzzle that we need to solve. So we have 2 drills. The one drill, the canola yields are down significantly compared to the other drill. And so it should be easy enough to figure out what to do, but that's on our minds here as we wrap up harvest on the farm this week. So haven't seen it like this before. We've been running these drills for a couple of years now, and but the old one, something's going on. It's certainly seeing that yield drag. So yeah,
that'll be a fun one to track down. I know, out our way, I know plant density. If a person's cal factor was out just a smidge and you overseeded, you saw it. We figured we switched to 1 canola variety. We figured by being about 2.5 plants too thick, it cost us 2 bushels. Just out of seed weight, and that lower percentage of moisture per plant just carried, it just did not have the water to sustain that high plant population.
Yeah. All right, Maury. Anything else you want to leave us with today?
No, I think I've been a big enough downer for today that I think I've said enough. So cautiously optimistic, but still very worried.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate the honesty, and you gave us some good tips here for some fall planning. So appreciate that, Maury, and we'll get you on here. We'll try to get you on before the ground freezes up. All right. How can people get a hold of you, Maury? Let's throw that in there.
Usually, I think my phone number is listed on my website, progrow.ca. Twitter, just DM me on Twitter, kind of wherever. If you find me somewhere, Twitter, LinkedIn, just through the website, my number's posted. Just text me, DM me, or if you're friends with a customer I deal with, just ask for my number. Just let me know who you are.
You bet. Sounds good. All right, man. Thanks again. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too, Ryan. Thank you.
All Alrighty, folks. Always learn something when Maury comes on the show. So we'll have him on here again in short order. All right. So positive moments for this week. Positive moment for the week. You know, I've been talking a lot about Finn's potty training, and you know, Finn, it's been going fantastic. We're on a streak here of no accidents, right? We're on the streak now of no accidents. So it's like day 5, day 6, no accidents. He's crushing it, doing great. It's just with that comes confidence. With that comes, you know, the ability to do more and the pride as well. And so, you know, it's just great to see him flourish in this environment. And it's been a lot of fun. Willis, she's been sick this week. So, of course, you know, you get going at school and all that stuff happens. But we had a great time at her birthday. We went to Gabby Cat, the movie. And folks, like if you've got little ones, it's hard. Like going to the movies, I find is really hard. Like I think when you probably get to like 6, 7, 8, you know, 8, 9, 10 is a lot easier. But to find a movie for a almost 3-year-old and a 5-year-old to watch at the theater is a challenge. So Gabby Cat, I'm going to give it a strong review. And if you want to do something with your littles, it definitely did the trick for us. We played the arcade. It was fun. We had a good time. And then my last positive moment here is my wife is doing fall cleaning, and it's like the purge going on in our household. And so, you know, my positive moment is I'm involved, but I just got to keep the peace. All right. Because my wife is in mode right now where things are leaving this house and not everybody's appreciating it. All right. So I'm the peacekeeper, trying to stay out of the way, trying to stay on her good side while we go through our fall cleaning. So lots of action at the Denis household here this week. So that's my positive moments. All right. Crop marketing here, guys. Wheat futures, new low this week. Canola futures, 5 handle, right? I haven't seen that for the last number of months. This is harvest pressure. This is how it goes, right? But what I want to just say here is that I see out there, especially in the canola market, I see the frustration, and you could be mad and, you know, be PO'd about what's going on when it comes to politics and what's going on when it comes to trade. Totally fair and totally honest, right? To be upset about that. But we're getting some signals here that you need to pay close attention to for your farm, because you may be very, very upset, but you might have to pay some bills. All right. And I know, like for our farm and for a lot of the farms I talk to, that, you know, the cash has to flow pretty regularly throughout the winter months. And when I went to pick up the phone here this week to try to make a canola sale, you know, the one crush plant said, "Hey, that's fantastic. We'll see you in the new year." And I was like, No. I don't, not the new year. I don't want the new year. Nobody said the new year. And she's like, "Well, we're full until the new year. So happy new year." And then I talked to another crush plant and they said, "Well, you know, we still have some room for December, but their basis has gotten worse as well. And they're a little behind. They actually dragging contracts, September contracts getting dragged into October, and not a small amount. So my December contract, right? I may not, you know, it might move that month, but it could drag as well. So, you know, there's some things. So I'm like, no problem. I'm going to start phoning around. I'm going to find a November sale somewhere. I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out how to do it and feel good about it. That's for sure. So, you know, if you farm up in the Peace, if you farm around Yorkton, Saskatchewan, I remember the Yorkton guys back in the day when I was doing some advising, they just kind of laugh at me when I'd be like, "Oh, let's wait on basis. It's going to get bullish." And they're like, "No, it's fall in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, Ryan. We have to book that up, because if we don't, it's gone. It's going to be sold out." Well, we're kind of seeing that in a larger scale, right? And yeah, will we get some export business for canola? 100% we will. Yes. But we're a little bit backlogged here and we're getting some signals. And I don't want you to go and get mad and get frustrated and not do anything and have it cause you more pain and you more grief. You can go and if February cash flow is important to you and you have to move canola, go out there and get your deals done. April, May, June, yeah, don't worry. Want to be bullish those months, fine. But we're already October. Line companies are saying like they have not moved the grain they normally move, like the tonnage they normally move. Like we're a little behind. I'm not going to argue with you about if there's a crop out there or not. I know, Twitter is always full of, or X is full of folks saying, oh, this is baloney. These yields aren't out there. The crop's not even all in the bin. Sure. True. But I talk to a lot of people and I see a lot of information, and yeah, there's a crop out there, guys. You may not want to believe it, or you may not be happy with it, but yeah, there's a crop. Carryover is going higher next year, especially for canola. All right. So you could be mad, you could be upset, but don't forget, like the market's giving you signals here, and you may need to take action. If cash flow is fine and you can hold all the stuff to next summer, then don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it as much as I need to worry about it right now. But if you got to pay your crop input loan in February or late January or March, you got to get going here. You got to get organized. And people have taken their crop, thrown it in the bin, and they said, we're going to lock up the bin. And that's fine. Your yellow pea market is on the rebound because of that. Your lentil market is on the rebound because of that. Green peas, all the pulses, right? But I don't know, guys. I don't forget that if you need to put money in the bank, you got to be out there, figure out your plan. And there may be signals here that you have to do. You have to execute on some stuff. Alrighty? Okay. Canola basis getting nasty out there. Okay. It's going to get a little uglier yet. Again, I said futures. I know a lot of folks looking at 600, hoping that holds in this environment. Even as of recording here today, canola hits a 5 handle. Trump puts out a tweet that rallies soybeans and bean oil. It pulls canola up with it temporarily. By the time you listen to this, are we going to be above 600 on the NOV contract? I hope so. But you look at that trend line. Trend is your friend. If we break below 600, then 580s in there, 570s in there. I didn't want to look further than that. Okay. But I expect we are going to flirt with that at least for a little bit. Hopefully we're running out of time. Hopefully the harvest low has to hit us sooner than later. But Trump's not meeting with Xi for another 4 weeks. The government shutdown is going to keep everybody in the dark here, which may be good or bad. We'll see from the USDA side and the sales. But yeah, to me, it still could be dark for at least another week or so here. I look and I see in the past we have October, November rallies. I see that, folks. But you may want to lock in some basis with canola and then get ready for that future rally. That might be the play you want to consider. You may want to lock it up and say, you know what, I'm just going to buy call options and be bullish the futures. So I know you want to get angry. It's okay to get angry. But anyway, okay, keep moving here. Canola basis was getting ugly. Feed barley, after stability for weeks, drops $5 a ton in Lethbridge. So not sure if that's a result of U.S. corn harvest or what, but did see that this week. Yellow peas trading $8 in Alberta, mid 7s in Saskatchewan. The rebound is there. I'm probably going to sell a little bit of yellow peas in that $7.50 to $8 region. I'd say I probably have 2 to 3 sales left, and I think I'll take one of these. Green peas, not so much. I'm staying a bit patient there. Same thing with maples, staying a little bit patient on those ones as well. Just for the most part on the farms I work with, they're smaller acres, and we have those really good first sales done. And not much left. So just the ability to stay patient. So staying patient there. Oat prices, I said this on the live show Wednesday, but there's like a violin playing. I was reading the sad story about how oat prices, feed oats were down to $2 in parts of Saskatchewan, and milling price was around $3. And then in Alberta, the prices were climbing. I'm like, we just gained 20 cents in Alberta, 25 cents. We got 4s out there. And so, hey, if you're out in Sask, you may want to look west right now, and little arbitrage opportunity. You can move oats a long ways for $1. So maybe take a peek at what you see there. And I think there's still some question marks around that oat quality. From a wheat perspective, folks, that's about what I think of that. A blank page on wheat. I look at the time of year and you think, well, Kansas wheat, winter wheat's going to rally. But we had that small grains report from the USDA this week. Didn't get any favors. Didn't get any favors from anybody from a wheat market perspective. But yeah, we have strong demand. We have a Canadian dollar, or the Canadian dollar US dollar exchange that is favorable towards a better wheat basis. Wheat basis has been improving across the prairies, and but futures are not doing us any favors. And we broke through some pretty, I call them significant support lines this week. And so now I look here and say, well, Jesus, maybe this is going to go down another 30, 40 cents here. I hope not, but we broke through support and I'm looking for the next one. And that's where I find them, 30, 35, 40 cents lower. And so I was chatting with the Lunchbox crew, this week saying, guys, I think we got to sell some wheat here. Number one, the company wants to buy it. Number two, the basis is pretty darn strong. And number three, futures are not showing any signs of recovery right now at all. And so will that company want to keep buying it as much as they want to right now? Will that continue? Well, hopefully. But if that ever went away, holy smokes, basis gets worse with these futures. Like, it's a little bit scary. And on the alternative, you could say, well, Ryan, that basis is going to keep improving. That demand's going to be there. Well, then you might just want to lock in some March futures, lock in some May futures, and wait for that basis. We actually did some of that where we said, hey, you know what? Let's just lock in these futures. And when they have the special for the train, we'll lock in that basis at the time and see what happens. See if we can pick up 25 cents with that strategy. All right. I'm not one to harp on people about like tools and having a brokerage account or having that in your toolbox. But I tell you, folks, when I do my speech, my talk in Moose Jaw, a well-funded brokerage account, like the average canola price that I'm seeing for farms with a hedge account, a funded brokerage account, is incredible compared to where we're at. The ability to go and move wheat without much concern, because you can be bullish by buying back futures or buying a call option. Like, it's peace of mind is incredible. I know it's not for everybody. I know people don't like it at times. I know it can be extra, add stress, but to me, it relieves stress. It makes it, it's like you can see the field better. You can see the play better. You can see what's going on. And you can say, if this happens, this is my move. If that happens, I can do this. To me, it's a game changer. So yeah, we'll talk about more of that in Moose Jaw. Now, all right, folks, for eating your veggies this week, let's do this. Number one, apply for your Crop Marketing Made Cool conference ticket. All right. Number one, just apply for it. You don't have to buy it. You can apply, have that available to you. That deadline's coming up. Number two, dust off your crop marketing plan before Thanksgiving. What is your plan moving forward? Yes, you can move feed barley. Yes, you can move yellow peas. Yes, you can move wheat. Should you be moving wheat? Should you be looking at that? Because if your plan is to move canola by Christmas, you got to get on the horn. You got to figure out how to pull that stunt off, because it's not that easy for parts of the prairies now. All right. Basis is getting ugly. So dust off your crop marketing plan. And number three, while you're doing that, don't forget about cash flow. Figure out what you need for cash for the next 4 or 5 months here. Honestly, going into spring, and when do you need to get your grain moved by? Get that down so that you can come up with your strategies to execute. Again, folks, I'm not, you don't have to join the Lunchbox crew by any means. You don't have to, you could just do this and do a great job on your own. But if you're looking for some peace of mind on strategies and how to tackle this stuff, reach out. RyanDenis.ca. All right. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not perfect. All right. But I'm told it helps. Okay. All right, folks. Let's leave it at that for eating your veggies for this week. All right, folks. We're getting down to the last couple of weeks here of the Harvest Hustle contest. We've had a flurry of entries. So this, of course, is to go and fly into Halifax, Nova Scotia, and go see the Canadian curling Olympic trials. All right. So RyanDenis.ca/contests. That's where you submit your pictures. And I'm just scrolling down here. There we go. Yeah, we got a bunch. If you go take a look, Amanda's been putting all the pictures up here and some nice descriptions from a bunch of farms as well. So keep going, folks. We are a couple of weeks away and some beautiful, beautiful shots here. All right. It's actually taking some time to load now because there's so many pictures popping up. Your odds are still unbelievable. We're talking flights, hotel, tickets to every single draw. And you guys know, I told you already, maybe bring some family members with you, split them up. It's a lot of curling, 3 meals a day in the VIP lounge. We even have a chauffeur. We've got the guy. All right. We got Jeff with Ag I3, Halifax, local guy's going to pick you up from the airport. And actually Kyle with Ag I3 is going to join me next week. We're going to talk about it a little bit, some valet service. All right. So a ton of fun. And all you have to do is submit your harvest pictures. We got some beauties in here, folks. And we're going to draw for that in like the next couple of weeks, the next 2 to 3 weeks here. All righty. There we go. We got Anaheim, Saskatchewan. I remember, I think we hauled hogs just outside of Anaheim back in the day. We've got a farm, LaBras Farm, Northeast Saskatchewan. We got Johnny Kaufman's got some pictures there. Onaway, Alberta, Silversmith Farms. There we go. Bymore, Alberta. Anyway, Southern Saskatchewan. We got Kaminicki Farms in Northern Alberta. Just a pile of great pictures there. So check that out on the website and, of course, submit yours so you have a chance to win this curling trip down to Halifax, Nova Scotia. Well, folks, I've been talking about a lot about Harvest Profit and John Deere Operations Center. And again, folks, this is the 2025 crop was the most that I've used used those platforms, like just to help. Again, my role on the farm is about crop marketing. My role on the farm is about, input buying decisions. Like that's where I do the numbers stuff. Right. And as things are happening and as things were, yields were coming in, scenarios were changing. For me, it was just really, really easy to continue to plan for the next year and to see some of the stuff going on, from a big picture perspective. And, again, folks, every farm's unique and every situation's unique. Now we're going to dive in and analyze some of the data. We've got a few different things that happen that we want to figure out and sort out. But I know that as harvest continued, it wasn't an easy harvest for the farm. I'm not sure if any of them actually are, but big breakdowns, big repair bills, big things happened during harvest. But even with all that, we just felt better as we continued. Yield will do that. A boost in yield will do that. And again, I'm the one here crying wolf from the spring drought. All right. I took my kids. So where we get our campers serviced is west of Edmonton. Like these guys, you know how it is when you get good service, you stay there, right? And so we'll pull the trailer over there for some fall service because I want to be ready to rock and roll in spring. I don't want to mess around. I want to get it done now because we got a record to break. I think we did 32 nights in the camper. We got to break that record next year, right? So I'm ready to rock and roll. Anyways, we had some time to kill. And so I told the kids, I'm like, well, let's go to the John Deere dealership and let's go see what's going on over there. I don't know why I didn't have my camera out to record Finley. But this was his first time in this specific dealership. We usually go to the one across town. And this is the one with the stuff. This is the one with the toys and the clothing. And it's incredible. It's so well stocked. Well, that kid was he was screaming as he ran aisle to aisle. And he was just pointing at things and just yelling, sprayer, grain bin, semi, and running around this store. It was quiet in there. We were basically the only ones in there. And Finley was running laps. Willa was in there running laps. And Finley was just wild with everything. And then, of course, we got to take something home. So they had a wall with all the I can't remember the ratio, the series, but this entire wall. And I'm like, okay, kids, you can each pick one. off there. We're shy on loader tractors in our toys, so we got a John Deere loader tractor. And Willa picked out her own skid steer and truck. So Finley has about 5 skid steers. Willa didn't have one, so now she has her own skid steer. So the cool thing is I used to work at this dealership as well, so I got to show the kids where I worked. And honestly, not a lot had changed. Not a lot had changed in there. So that was fun. All right, folks. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me this week for episode 95. We're cruising towards 100. I got to figure out what to do for episode 100. If you have ideas, let me know. It'd be nice to do like a on location type thing, but I guess I have a month to figure that out. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please share it with your friends, your neighbors. You guys are doing the heavy lifting out there, guys, because our YouTube subscriptions are up a pile. We hit a new high for amount of listens on a Friday. So I get to kind of see that. We're listened to now in 25 countries. And yes, even if you listen to it once while on vacation in New Zealand, it came up. So I'm counting that. But 25 countries. And you guys are doing the heavy lifting. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing the show. Any ideas? I have a new guest next week. We're going to talk NHL hockey with the Nation Network. And I got a few different guests here joining us for season 3. So thanks a bunch, folks. Episode 95 for the What the Futures podcast. My name is Ryan, and I'm out of here.